Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the Two Ewes of Two Ewes Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at twoewesfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our Two Ewes Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Hi, Kelly.
Hey, Marsha. How's it going?
Well, how's it going?
It's going great. I'm on summer vacation.
Nice.
Haven't really done any big things yet. Just a lot of I've had some work meetings, and then I've done some stuff around the house, and then today is actually a day that I'm doing a lot of cooking.
Oh.
Yeah.
What are you making?
So, we have been getting a lot of eggs. So I made custard the other day for Robert, and it had, you use a certain number of eggs, and then you use a couple extra egg yolks. And so I had egg whites left over, and I thought, I wonder what I can make with egg whites. And then I thought, I know. We get strawberries in our vegetable box. I'll make an angel food cake because I think that takes egg whites. So anyway, today I made an angel food cake, which actually turned out rather flat. I think my angel food cake pan is a little bigger than what the recipe called for, but also when I fold things, I always feel nervous about folding things, like I'm not delicate enough about it. And so maybe I kind of deflated it a little bit when I folded it, but it's going to be really good with strawberries and whipped cream for dessert. So I made dessert. And then our fish order, we get a vegetable order and a fish order on Thursday. And our fish order this week, we found out, was squid.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
And so I'm not home tomorrow.
I'm not a squid fan.
Oh, well, I'm not home tomorrow for dinner, and they're fresh, right? So so it's kind of like, okay, we probably should make them tonight. So I said, okay, I'll make squid for dinner tonight. So I'm making squid, and I think I'm just going to there's a recipe called grilled salt and pepper squid. So it's real plain. I'm just going to make that. But then we also had potatoes left and dill from last week. So I thought, I'll make a potato salad with those potatoes and use the dill. I'll do not a mayonnaise potato salad, but like a vinaigrette with dill potato salad. So anyway, I made my potato salad. I made my angel food cake. We just got the notification that the fish has been delivered, so Robert's going to get the squid. And then I might make some other vegetable that goes with all of that, because I'm not sure how much squid there's actually going to be. It's supposed to be like 2 servings, but in case it's not good, or in case 2 servings is kind of little.
I have to say, the only way I've had squid is calamari, right? Where it's
fried. Yeah.
And it's like, it's okay, but it's not like and also I have to say, squid is one of those, like the name squid doesn't make it sound delicious.
Oh, yeah.
Squid.
Well, I will report back. I will report back on
calamari sounds delicious. Squid doesn't sound delicious.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not making and back in the day, like back in the 70s when my aunt first moved here, they would get it all the time. It was very inexpensive. And it, came right local. And so they ate it quite a bit. And then it got to be calamari in the 80s and became expensive.
Yeah.
And so your point of the name sounds more delicious when you call it calamari is definitely true. But anyway, I'm going to try this recipe, this calamari recipe Salt and pepper calamari. Salt and pepper grilled calamari.
No, it sounds really interesting. I mean, the thing is, what's interesting about your food box is you're getting unusual fish. Well, okay, squid's not unusual, or calamari is not unusual.
It's not something you would.
I go
it's not something that would be on my grocery list.
Yeah, I don't typically buy it, but it's...
And that's the fun, I think, that's the fun of the vegetable box, too, because, I mean, most of the things were things we were buying, potatoes, broccoli, cauliflower, lettuce, but like 2 weeks ago, we got fennel, which I really like, but no one else in the house really likes it, so it doesn't ever go on the grocery list. It's like, yes. I get to have fennel.
Your vegetable box is a little subversive,
right?
Forcing people to eat things that they claim they don't like.
Yes. So, we've had swordfish, and that's been good. We've had it twice. Last week it was because they were having high swells. There wasn't enough fresh fish for them to deliver, so they delivered previously frozen swordfish steaks, which were very good. But that was another one of those, well, you have to use them right away. You can keep them in your refrigerator for this long because they're previously frozen. So we had those last Thursday night. We've had sole. We had mussels. So it's kind of forcing, and it's forcing me because Aunt Betty's not really a big fan of a lot of these types of like figuring out what to do with fish she hasn't ever cooked before. And so it's forcing me to kind of get into the mix of cooking, which is good. I don't hate cooking. I just don't, it's just not something I think about because it isn't a regular part of my life anymore. And even when it wasn't something I did every day. So anyway, that's my day. It's a cooking day for me, and we're having squid and potato salad and dessert of angel food cake and strawberries and whipped cream.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, come for dinner.
So, yeah, really? I'll get on a flight. I'll be there. Well, we cooked fish from your fish box.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was sable fish.
Forgotten.
Black cod.
Oh, sable fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Very good. Okay. Well, should we get to it?
Yeah. I hear you have a rant.
Yes. Well, I was when I was walking Enzo, I was listening to the two Knitlit chicks, and they always have at the end of their episode, they have thumbs up and thumbs down. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to call it a rant.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to call it thumbs down. And I think everybody will appreciate this. So I have two recent things with technology. So I broke the camera lens on my phone. So I had to get I was going to get it repaired, but it was actually cheaper just to get a new phone because they gave me money for the old phone. And so I got a new phone. And when I got the new phone, for 99 cents, I got the Apple Watch. So I thought, okay, I'll take that too. So I come home with all of it, and I transferred, everything worked great and everything, but I go to charge the phone, and it's a different port.
Mm-hmm.
But my earpods use the cable for for my phone that with the camera broke. The charging ports are the same.
Mm-hmm.
So now in my house now, I have to have two different cables, one for the new phone and one for the old AirPods. Plus, the watch has a completely different port. And then I'm like, okay, and I love my case. So it's my Scottish heritage. I have Buchanan tartan on my case, and I was so excited because the phone, I had the 12, the 15 fits the case. Yay, I'm super excited. I can keep my Buchanan tartan come to find out they've moved the little buttons on the side, the power button and the volume button and everything.
So it fits.
Why?
But you can't use the buttons.
Yes. And then my other thing about technology is I have cameras up. I bought cameras through a company called Arlo. And when I bought the system, it came with the I don't know what you call it, like it's the thing that's connected to the internet that controls everything. I don't know what the base, that's what it's called. And 3 cameras. And I decided I put those 3 cameras up, and at the time I decided I wanted a 4th camera. I thought I was going to put it inside the garage. I never did that. So I've been using those 3 cameras. Everything's been great. I've had some people prowling, and so I decided to put that 4th camera up, and I put it on the south side of the garage, which I call Raccoon Alley, because you have to name all of the cameras. It's named Raccoon Alley because that's where the raccoons go along there, and discover completely different mounting system and a completely different charging system or charger. Then I decided, well, I want another one on the south garden. So I went out to Best Buy and I got another camera to go in the south garden. And I also got one of their doorbells because there's a doorbell there, but it's never worked. It's never worked. So I thought, oh, great, I'm going to put this doorbell up. Different mounting systems and different chargers for both the camera and the doorbell. And I'm like, and they're all white. So what I did for that is I just took white duct tape and put a little tab on each one, and then took magic marker and I wrote which camera these cables all go to. But why? I don't understand why they're the same camera, but they changed the port, the charging port. So you have to have a completely different cable. This is my little thumbs down. And we don't normally rant. Well, actually, Kelly, I was going to say we don't normally rant in this podcast, but perhaps I'm wrong.
I think we do rant. We just call it regular conversation.
We don't label it. We don't call it out.
We do it so much, sure maybe.
Yeah, but I'm sure everybody will understand that. I don't like. So now when I travel, I have to bring the cable for the computer, the cable for the ear pods, the cable for the watch, and the cable for the phone. Now, the only thing I thought about too, just now as I'm talking about this, I think they all have wireless charging. So I guess I could buy a port, or no, that's not
like the wireless
base,
charging
I guess.
station.
Again, it'd be but anyway, I don't know. Just cracks me up.
My phone and my AirPods are the same. My computer and my iPad is the same. And so I just have to carry the one brick or block, thing that plugs into the wall. And all those cables plug into the same thing that plugs into the wall. But I do have to say, thinking about technology and like, oh, why do they have to change this? Robert, when he redid our bedroom, and we painted and stuff, he was super proud because he put in outlets, especially behind my nightstand. He was super proud and happy that he put in an outlet that included a USB port.
Yeah, right.
A plug and a USB port, but it's the old-fashioned USB port, right? I mean, it still works. I still use it. It doesn't charge as fast, but that is what I use. So that, it works.
My brother told me, and I don't know if this is true or not, our listeners who are in Europe maybe can confirm if this is true or not, but that in Europe they're saying that they can't change the different ports because it's so wasteful. All these cables are just going into a landfill, right? And I know when I bought the last time my old phone that got damaged, it doesn't come with the little cube anymore,
right?
Because they said so many people had cubes.
Oh my God, I have, yeah.
So I'd be kind of curious if our listeners who are living in Europe, if that's true, that the governments have said that they don't want these phone companies to sell keep changing the cables. But anyway,
that's a lot of talk about plugs and cords and cables and.
it's just,
But yes, I understand.
Why?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
why?
new case,
Anyway.
new cables.
Yeah. So I did find, I did order online.
Maybe it's just to keep us young, Marsha. New stuff keeps happening. We just have to say to ourselves, okay, well, this is how you stay young.
Well, and then since I'm going down this path, I will also say too, because I got a new phone, now I need to connect it to the car. For, the hands-free, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I know how to connect the phone because I connected the old one, but now I don't know how to make it not keep searching for the old phone and get it to recognize the new phone. And I will say, every time I go to get in the car, I'm going someplace with a time constraint. Yeah. So I need to go out there and just sit in the car and figure it out. But for the days of cars where you had, to actually unlock the key with a key, and you had to crank the windows down, Right. You'd have all this technology.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but this leads into another thing that I wanted to talk about clutter. And the fact that I now have all these cords that I'm going to have to figure out how to organize my cords. You started cleaning your house, the closets, and organizing the closets. And unbeknownst to you, I was now cleaning and organizing my closets. And what I really started on was I always just put my sweaters, all my knitwear, in boxes, those ones that go under the bed. And I had lavender in there and I had cedar in there. But I have made so many sweaters, they don't fit in there anymore. And so for about a year, they've all just, one of the guest bedrooms, they're just all piled on the bed. And I thought, I need to take care of this. So I reorganized them, and they're in the closet now, and I can see them. So they're not under the bed anymore. And I think it's going to be better to not have them in the dark. So the closet has a window in it. I am going to cover the window so there's not direct sunlight hitting. Let me just say the cases I got, the backs are solid, so they're not going to get direct sunlight.
Oh yeah, that should be fine.
Yeah, so I think, but it'll be lighter in there, and I can see them, and I won't have to go in there and get down on my hands and knees and pull stuff out from underneath the bed anymore.
Yeah, and so, out of sight, out of mind, right? You don't even think about it if you can't see it, and so then you'll think about wearing them. That's a good idea.
But that's what started this whole thing, this conversation, and so I now have these bins that used to be under the bed, which I'm going to get rid of, and we had a conversation on the phone about it, and you were listening to, or again, we were talking about the two Knit-Lit chicks, but we were listening to them. This last episode, they were talking about Clutterbug, the podcast. And she has a video show, and then also the podcast.
Yeah, tons of videos on YouTube, and then and now, and I think the audio podcast is also on YouTube. I think the same. She does the same. She uses it for two purposes, but then she also has other videos that are more like not like sitting in front of a microphone.
Yeah. Anyway, so yesterday I'm down in the basement, and you texted down in the basement cleaning and looking at that mess that's down there. And because remember I said I was never going to talk about the basement again, but I am now going to talk about the basement for just a minute. And you texted me the link to the most recent episode of Clutterbug. And I just thought I'm just going to put it on. I have a portable speaker with yet another cable that does not fit.
I'm going to just interject just a quick thing. I do keep my cables because I have to go back and forth to work. So I have my cables stored, and I store my cables in it's not an old project bag. It's a bag that you brought me. But that's a good use for an old project bag.
Yes, and I have to say, when I travel, I put them all in all the cables go in, and my ear pods go in a little project bag, because I bring, I need the charging cable for the lights that go around your neck. And then I often, when I travel, this is weird, but I travel with my headlamp.
Yeah.
And I bring the charging cable for that too. So yeah, and I just put it in a little project bag.
And even like the cables that you don't travel with, that could be a way to store those. But anyway, I'm getting us off the topic. I'm getting us back to the topic of cables and off the topic of Clutterbug.
Clutterbug. Anyway, fabulous podcast. So thank you to Tracy and Barb for talking about it and then you told me about it because I hadn't listened to the most recent episode, and they probably have talked about it before. But so what did you throw out? Because I have some thoughts about it. My learning from listening to that episode. What did you learn?
The one thing that I thought was really interesting about what she says is how you have there's different kinds of clutter. And so there's the two kinds that really resonated with me. I don't really have guilty clutter. That's one of the types where you feel guilty about getting rid of it because someone gave it to you, or guilty because you spent money on it, or that one wasn't the one that really like hit me. But and I will say this, she's talking about the types of clutter and I'm thinking, well, I don't have that. Oh, well, I don't have that,
But you have a form of that.
Yes, I'm feeling all, self-righteous because I don't have that and I don't have that. And then she talks about one of the forms, fantasy clutter. And oh my God, everybody who's listened to this podcast knows that I have fantasy knitting in my queue. I actually call it fantasy knitting. I have a tag on it in my Ravelry queue that it's fantasy knitting. I am never making this thing. But yet the pattern is in my queue. And then I have things that I keep because I am going to someday do something with them. And really in my mind, I know that that's a fantasy. I'm probably never going to do that thing that I'm planning. There are some things that I do take and I say, okay, now, like out of hibernation, it was a chance to get back to something that I really was going to work on. But if I'm honest with myself, and when I was listening to it, I was like, okay, yeah, be honest with yourself. You are never doing that. So that was the one type of clutter that I thought, oh, I definitely have this. And it made me throw out a bunch of fabric scraps and get rid of a bunch of things that I thought, oh, I might sew these, I mean, I still do have fabric. I didn't get rid of all the fabric that I have, but why am I keeping scraps that I bought? Yeah. I bought fabric. There's this one fabric. I've used it enough. It's had its useful life. I bought it in 2006. The summer of 2006, after we were on strike, because when we went on strike, I took everything out of my office because I didn't know how long it was going to be, and I didn't want them to have my stuff if it turned really bad. So I took everything off my wall. So when I moved back into the office after the strike, which was only like 5 days later, I thought, okay, I'm going to do something different. So I went and got fabric to put on the wall in my office at the what do they call it? The remnants section of one of our stores. So this fabric had been on my wall. Then I had to move out of that office and into the cubicles in 2019. And so I took that fabric down, and then I used it to cover the cubicle, like the entryway into the cubicles, the walls, so that when you came in, it wasn't like this. When all of us came in, it looked a little bit better. So I just used it as a backing, and I put up some posters. Then I took it down from the cubicles when I left, and we've been using it. Well, I used some of it to make a tablecloth for a little side table that goes with the trailer. And then I'm using some of it as a temporary curtain when the trailer is uncovered and I don't want the sun to come in, or like while we travel. So like this fabric has had enough use. And I still had pieces of it in my cupboard, like maybe I was going to use it for something else. What the hell? What was I doing? So that went, so fantasy clutter, gone. And then the other kind of clutter that she talked about that I thought was very interesting was identity clutter. So the things that you keep because they're, I use the word props sometimes for the stuff that like helps other people know who I am and helps me know who I am. Like the stack of books on my nightstand. I don't hardly ever read physical books anymore. Why am I keeping these books on my nightstand? I mean, I literally have probably 20. That is not happening. But I think of myself as a books on the nightstand type of person, right? Like, just be realistic about what you're really going to read and what you're actually going to listen to instead,
Yeah.
So it was very interesting, and it did help me, and it was fun to listen to while I was cleaning closets. It's like, this is a good thing to listen to while you're cleaning closets, cleaning drawers, cleaning medicine cabinets, just doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was, I have to say, I enjoyed listening.
Yeah, and I would say all of those, the fantasy clutter, that's mine for sure. In fact, I called you and I said, because people who've been listening to this podcast for a long time remember that well before the pandemic, we did a natural dye workshop in my garage. And and we hired somebody to teach us. And afterwards, we were very excited about it. And we thought, well, we could just do this ourselves, right? And you sat and wrote an entire lesson plan. And in preparation for that dye workshop, I bought all these pots for dyeing, big pots for dyeing that I've been storing. And I called you last night. It was about the cocktail hour, I believe. I called you and I said, are we ever having a dye workshop? You said, no, we're never having a dye workshop. So not to disappoint all of our listeners who've been holding out hope that we're going to do this dye. So, but the thing is, if we do decide to have, down the road, we change our mind and we decide we're going to have a dye workshop, we'll just go buy more pots. Because at the Goodwill, they're what? $5, $10. It's not a big deal.
Yes, and you'll be able to find them at the Goodwill.
Yeah, I'll go buy my own pots back probably. So that's the thing I realized, and I guess this falls into the fantasy clutter, is I had ideas about, and this dye workshop falls into one of them. I also, about that garage specifically, as people know, I have this 3-car garage. I always had hoped to make it into like a venue space, kind of like to have dye workshops and also parties, like have a stove out there so you can heat stuff up. And that's why all these chandeliers started appearing that my brother bought, because we're going to make this entertainment space out there. And I realized that's never going to happen. That was an idea I had, that there's so many other things that I need to spend my money on, like I'm getting a new roof next week and painting the house, things just to keep the house standing. And I don't have anybody over anyway. I mean, I don't really have a lot of people over enough to fill a garage to have that kind of party. So this idea of what I thought how I was going to live my life and what my life was going to be like and how it really is, I have to let all that stuff go. So I photographed all those chandeliers, and I'm putting together an email with all the photos of all the stove and the chandeliers and the tile that he's got stacked out there, all the stuff that's been out there for years, to get rid of it. It's all going to go. And he's not going to be, my brother's not going to be very happy about it, but that's too bad, because it is my garage. And the other thing out there too, that I've been hanging on to, and it's, I'm trying to see how to say this. It doesn't sound super depressing and sad, but my Trek bike that I bought in 1984, I think. And I did all these long rides on it, everything. I love that bike. And Ben has asked me a couple times about selling it. And I'm like, I don't want to sell that bike.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized from this podcast too, is I'm probably not going to ride a bike again. Now, having said that, I may ride a bike again because I like to ride a bike, but I'm not riding that bike because it has the drop handlebars. It's a racing bike.
It's 40 years old.
Yes, it doesn't have the index shifting. It's those little levers.
Yeah.
It's all retro. Some young kid's gonna love this retro bike, right? Mm-hmm. So I told Ben to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's hard about that is you're having to acknowledge that you're not the person you were when you were 20.
Right. It's identity.
You are not. Yeah. It's identity, and it's also sort of a feeling of, this is the part that I think is hard to say. It's kind of a feeling of your own mortality. I'm not physically able to go ride that bike 50 miles. I probably will, and I don't feel safe on it either because I don't feel as athletic and as sure as I felt before when I was, riding that bike for miles and miles and miles. And so it's kind of a hard thing to accept too. That's part of it.
Right.
So,
but the real thing is that if you decided tomorrow after you got rid of it that you really wanted to ride a bike and you were going to go and not do 50 miles, but just do an afternoon, ride for an hour every afternoon or ride for an hour once a week, right? Mm-hmm. If you decided you were going to do that, you could. You really could.
Oh, yes, I can. There's nothing that says I can't do it. It's just that it's probably not really likely that I'm going to do it. But if I decide I'm going to do it, I'll just buy a bike.
Right.
But there's no reason to store this bike until...
That's right. And the reality is that you're not going to decide you want to do that.
Yeah. Yes. Well, see, and that's the thing that's the hard part is I know I'm never going to ride that bike again. Right. And I'm probably not going to ride a bike at all again, truthfully. Let's just call it what it is.
I mean, you could.
I could, but that also goes into that fantasy and identity.
That's right.
Which is, I could, but let's just be realistic. It's probably not going to happen.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
So, anyway, it was
eye-opening to listen to.
Really eye-opening for me to listen to about why I hang on to the things that I hang on to, because she really pretty much described me to a T. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you to Tracy for the recommendation, and thank you to our listeners for listening to us talk about non-knitting related stuff for 35 minutes.
And I apologize that I'm again talking about my basement. But I'm now done.
No, I don't think you need to apologize about that, Marsha. Because people always say they like hearing about the stuff that we're doing. So
I know. I will tell you one thing funny. I did get rid of something though. It was a big thing, but I finally got rid of the loom. The first loom that I got, I finally got around to photographing it, and I posted it up on the Seattle Weavers Guild classifieds, and I immediately got an answer. And someone came down from, a woman and her husband came down from Bellingham, and she's a new weaver.
Cool.
And she actually is not a member of the Weavers Guild, but her friend is, and said, there's a loom, So she came down and she said she could only take it, though, if she could get it in her car. And they had a small SUV. And but what I think was so funny is they tried twice, and the husband says, I don't think it's going to fit in there. And she goes, we're going to keep trying. and it was just really clear that he's like, no, I think that's okay. We're not going to be able to get it. And she, the look in her eye, no, we're going to get that loom in that car.
A new weaver was born.
A new weaver was born, and there's no way she's going back to Bellingham without that loom. So that was very cute. But anyway.
That's cool.
So the loom is gone. It's gone on to its next home, which is really good. And so I have more space.
Yeah, and so you can get ready to put your next project on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not during summer, because I know you've said weaving during the summer is not really something that you want.
Well, but you had suggested it might be a good idea just to go ahead and warp it anyway, because I think I have a kit. It's just 2 towels. I might just go ahead and warp it. So, as you said, rainy days or really hot days, I'd have it on there. So I think I will do it. But
well, and the warp is already wound, so that's nice. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
In the kit, it's not. Yeah. No, I was thinking that.
No. Actually, are there kits where the warp comes?
It's not common, but I did buy one when I was fairly new to weaving that was already wound warp for a scarf or a shawl that I made for my sister. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Shall we talk projects?
Yes. Let's do it.
What do you want to?
You
want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. And I just want to say that all the things that I said, where we said we're going to call it finished, even though it wasn't exactly finished, I kept myself honest, and they're all washed, blocked, ends woven in. The yarns are all finished and counted yardage and all of that. So my accountability check. I didn't just call them finished. They really are finished.
Yes, and I'm going to interject that the tea cozy is done. I finished it.
Yay.
Whatever day I think we recorded on a Friday, and I think I finished it the next day. And I even made sewed it together and put the little pom-poms on top. So I stayed accountable too.
All right, good. So I'm working on the wine and cheese socks, and I'm about halfway down the leg of the second sock. So that's just my, kind of grab and go knitting, or just if I'm watching something and I don't have anything else to do. I've done also 3 crocheted bears, mother bears.
Wow.
I think I might have had one finished last time we recorded, and then I finished another 2 of them. I finished one of them today. So they're pretty quick. It's just a matter of getting them stuffed. And I've been using up yarn, so that's really cool. I have a little bag that I keep the bear yarns in, and almost all of it is leftovers. So that's exciting to get balls of yarn down to the size where I can throw them away. It's pretty fun. And then my spinning, I haven't tackled any big project yet from the garage, which is what I want to do this summer is, figure out which one I'm going to do, figure out which project I'm going to do or projects I'm going to do and actually get started. But I did grab some D-stash fiber from Knockers, some spirit fiber. And so I had 3 things that I brought home of pats. They're of pats. So one was about a little over an ounce of merino. One was 2.5 ounces of Polworth silk. So I spun the Polworth silk, and then I spun the merino, and then I made a really cool kind of textury 2-ply of the merino and the Polworth silk. That's a hard thing to say. Polworth silk together. And so the Polworth silk was it thinner than the merino? No, was a little thicker than the merino. And so when it plied, it kind of did a wrapping thing. So it's a little bumpy. I haven't washed it yet to see what it does when it.
You mean when it gets those little corkscrews? You mean?
No, it doesn't have those. But like normally when you ply the yarns, both plies kind of lay the same way and they lay along each other. And since these are 2 different fibers, and I think it's more than just that they're different sizes, they're also different fibers. And so one of them is kind of poofed around the other. I didn't purposely wrap the fiber, do a wrapping technique, but that's kind of how it looks. Like the plies have bumps. So like one of the plies is bumping out from the yarn more than the other one. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens when I wash it. So I have that. So that's about that's the merino and the Polwarth silk. So it's about an ounce. And then the other ounce of the Polwarth silk, I just took and plied on itself. And it looks like you would expect. Just a nice 2-ply. And then another one of the fibers that I took from D-Stash of Pat's was Lincoln Columbia Cross. And so this is more like a coarser yarn, long wool. And so I just spun that up and then 2-plied it because I do have a rug project that I want to work on, a punch needle rug project that I want to work on for the trailer. And so that's going to be part of that rug yarn stash that I'm going to use for the trailer project. So those are my 3 spin-along projects for the first 6 days of, well, actually it's been longer than that because it started Memorial Day, but for the first part of June, first part of our spin-in. And that's it. That's all I have that I've worked on.
Okay. Well, for me, I finished the spinning that I was doing, my 5th combo spin, the red, and because when we last talked, I had 2 skeins. We had a whole conversation about the filling the bobbins and not filling the bobbins. Anyway, I have about 1,000 yards, just a little over 1,000 yards. And the discussion last week, as I had filled 2 of the bobbins and I had a whole, like, what am I going to do if I don't fill that 3rd bobbin? So what I ended up doing is the last of the fiber I had, I just filled that bobbin as much as all of it on there. It was not as full as the other 2. But I got down to not very much. I used most of the 2 that were fuller. I used most of those. And then my idea, which I talked about last week, is the one that was the fullest, I wound into a cake, that one bobbin with singles on it. I wound into a cake, and then I just plied it together with the other bobbin. And I think I got like 50 yards or something. So I just wound that into a ball and stuck it in with my fiber. So that's, and I just made a note to use that last if I have to use it. So I have a little over 1,000 yards, not including that little ball.
And you were able to use all of it by doing that and not have to do a chain ply?
I used pretty much all of it. I think I had maybe a yard of single left over.
Oh, nice.
So it worked out really well.
Yeah.
I'm dumb luck is really what
no,
it
but
was.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Haven't picked up the socks and the mountain high with my 3rd combo spin. I don't remember where I was last week, but I finished the body. Oh, I didn't update this. The body's done. The first sleeve is done down to the cuff, but I wanted to try it on. And then I finished the 2nd sleeve down to the cuff. So I was able to try it on, and they seem to be long enough. So now I'm doing the cuff, which you do 3 inches of garter stitch.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm working on the first cuff. So I'm not calling it done.
No, but you're really close.
Because I'm getting close. And this is the big news, Kelly. I finally started the baby sweater.
Yay!
But I'm referring to it as that effing baby sweater because, as everybody knows, I was going to knit the baby surprise jacket, Elizabeth Zimmerman, and it's an unusual construction, as we've talked about. And I got the free yarn from Jean when we were at the beach, which is an Aran weight. And it says you're supposed to use, okay, now I can't remember. What does it say? I think I figured out it's fingering weight.
Yeah, that's what you told me when we were talking.
Because they call it something else in the pattern. And I had to look it up with what it meant. Anyway, I started reading the pattern, trying to figure out how I was going to cast on. And, well, just understanding what's going on with this pattern. And it does say very explicitly, if you've never made the pattern before, they recommend you use the recommended weight. And then they give you instructions about how to modify for different weights. And I thought, I can't wrap my head around it right now. I just can't do that right now. Trying to knit this sort of unusual pattern and changing the weight too, and so dramatically too, going from fingering to Aran. So I thought I just need a new pattern. So make a long story short, I did find a pattern, but we had a conversation on the phone about it. Is you had to buy the pattern through Interweave magazine, and that was impossible. And I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. And you said that you think Interweave has sold. So if anybody knows what's going on with Interweave, that I think it's not, I think whatever is happening at Interweave, their website's not functioning. So I thought there's got to be another sweater on Ravelry. And so you sent me a whole bunch of really cute ones. And you also sent me, there's a way just to send the search in Ravelry. Mm-hmm. And so on the first page, there was a sweater that I decided to make. And it's called Sweet Baby Cardigan. And the designer is Alena Byers. And it's, so I can use my colors. And it's a little jacket, but it has, and so the button band is knit at the same time you do the body. It's a kind of a raglan sleeve, top down garter stitch sweater, has a little collar, which I think is super cute. And then on the body, or the lower edge, lower half of the body of the sweater, and on the lower part of the sleeves, it has some color work. But the color work is just all done. The whole sweater's garter stitch, and the color work is created with slip stitches.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, it's super cute. I've done the yoke, and I'm halfway. I've just started the color work. I've done 4 rows of the color work on the sleeve. So it's super cute. And I also look too, you can get a hat and booties to match. So I can do a layette. I don't think I'm going to do a layette, but anyway, I've started. I've got going on this sweater. So little George will get it before he's in college.
Well, that's good.
I know. So I'm trying to think, that's it for projects for me.
All right.
Should we talk about summer spin-in?
Do the prizes last?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the summer spin-in started on Memorial Day, which I don't remember what the date of that was. I always think of Memorial Day as May 31st, and I know now it's just on whatever Monday.
It was May 27th.
Okay. And it ends on Labor Day, which is September 2nd. Oh, it's right here in the show notes, Marsha, the dates. Thank you for putting those in. And it ends on September 2nd, which is Labor Day, which actually is also the day of the Monterey County wool auction. If you are interested in that, they moved it back to Monday. It had been on Sunday last year, not on the actual Labor Day of Labor Day weekend, but on the Sunday. But this year it's back to the Monday of Labor Day weekend, the last day of the fair.
Okay.
So that's kind of a good match. Our summer spin-in ends on the day that you can buy your fleece for next year. And you can, spin anything. Spin processed fiber, wash it, card it. You can even do a project. We have in the past had a thread specifically for projects that were made from hand spun, and I'll put up an FO thread for that. So we'll have finished spinning projects and finished knitting, crocheting, weaving, whatever, finished making of anything that you make with hand spun. So even if you're not a spinner, you can participate if you're lucky enough to get some hand spun from someone. And then we are going to, throughout the summer, we're going to be starting with our next episode. We'll have a little bit of content, spinning, like informational content, educational content in the episode for at least a few episodes during the summer spin-in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any?
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm planning. I posted a picture I have that colorful braid that from Alexandra Art of the Yarn, I think. I bought that down in Redlands, California. I was thinking of doing that. I also, though, Kelly, I've been thinking about the cross. And I never remember what that cross is. Wensleydale, Cormo. We split the...
Yes, I can tell you what it is. Cormo, Merino, and Wensleydale.
Okay. I'm going to I think I have it in my Ravelry wrong. Anyway, so I started carding that. And so last summer, so I'm thinking about doing that, carding more of it and spinning it. And then also one of the things that I called you about last week, should I just get rid of this, was that big giant 2.2 pound ball of roving that's Targhee, that I call it my Pinot Noir purchase, that when we went to that Fort Worden knitters retreat that somebody was selling it. And our good friend Kelly Brook and I had a couple glasses of Pinot Noir, and we got laughing over the size of it because you know how much we love big balls of yarn or cones of yarn or anything. And so I bought this thing, and I thought, I'm never going to spin that thing. And I thought of just tossing it. But I was thinking it might be kind of fun to spin and then over dye it because it's kind of a caramel color, cafe au lait color. And I thought it'd be kind of interesting to then over dye it in, like a light wash of green and burgundy and whatever colors. So, and then maybe think, I shouldn't think of it this way, but thinking of then doing like a colorwork sweater out of those. So it's all the same fiber,
right?
All the same yarn, but some is dyed. And I've not dyed colored fiber. I've always just dyed the natural cream color, right? And not a dark color. So I'm kind of curious to see.
Except for you've over dyed over yarn that was a color that was already commercial yarn.
Yes, I've over dyed for the blanket where I used my dad's old sweater.
Yeah,
some of that I over dyed to cover the unattractive color, and then the other blanket I made where we had sort of a camel colored yarn, and we over dyed that to make kind of a gradient.
Right.
But I've never dyed something where you want some of that color to show through intentionally. I have to decide too.
Okay. I wasn't thinking of that, but yeah, okay.
So, I mean, I don't know. Like you made that, you wove that blanket where it's all the same. Am I correct on this? It's like the same fiber, but then you dyed the yarn, you over dyed it different colors. So it makes it's like it's all coordinates, but it's different at the same time.
It was all the same fleece. And it was a fairly dark brown fleece. And then I over dyed the dark brown. And that's the one where I had to label all the colors, what they were, because I couldn't tell.
I know what I should do.
But
instead of knitting with it, I should weave a blanket with it.
You could do that. Yeah. And then I also did the same thing with a gray fleece with Charlotte.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing, Kelly. Does this fall into fantasy clutter?
It might. Yes. I enabled you to keep fantasy clutter. No, I think it falls into the category of inventory.
Yeah. Okay.
Because even if you abandon the fantasy of a blanket, which I don't think is actually a fantasy, but even if you change your mind about a blanket, the nice thing about having that is you could actually dye the roving, which probably would be more interesting as a
yes, and that was
not necessarily as a blanket, but it's like I have all these projects where and you have too had projects where you're doing a lot of the same thing, right? You're spinning a lot of the same thing. And these little 2-ounce bits that I got from the D-stash room, it reminded me how fast it is and gratifying it is to just do a quick spin, one small skein of something.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with this is that you could do both, right? If you're in the mood to spin the natural color, just spin a skein of the natural color and then go do something else. And then if you're in the mood to spin a colorful braid, dye the roving, a bit of the roving and spin that. Like you have lots of options.
Because I've got 2 pounds.
Right.
I have a lot of options. Yeah, and that's what I was wondering if it's, my question, this is really not the right question, is it better to spin it undyed or is it better to spin it dyed?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Mm-mm. It doesn't matter is the real answer.
Absolutely doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you can do both and you can combine them both into a blanket if that's what you decide to do with that yarn, right? It's so versatile. Mm-hmm. So, and the other overdying project I've done a lot of overdying of yarn. I took a yarn that particular color. My CVM yarn was kind of the same color as the Targhee that you have, kind of a taupey beige color, or like a cafe au lait color is kind of the way I thought of it. And I overdyed it with red to get that kind of rusty orange sweater that I have. So so there's that kind of dye. I mean, that's overdying. I overdyed the gray fleece to make, remember the funky grandpa sweater with the stripes, the gray sweater with the stripes. All those stripes are that same gray of the base overdyed.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking of for a sweater like that. So it's same base but different colors.
Yeah, and then you can include the natural color itself. If you were going to do a blanket or something with stripes. Yeah. So you have a lot of options. Yeah. So I would not consider that ball of Targhee roving to be fantasy clutter. I would consider that to be inventory. Because you don't have to decide what you're going to do with it. You can just spin it a bunch of different ways. Dye it a bunch of different times and spin little bits of it and then put that whole thing together and then decide what to do with it.
Yeah. Anyway, lots of options. I'm thinking of that. Those are my 3 things I'm kind of thinking.
Okay.
And there's no reason why I have 2 wheels, so there's no reason why I technically have 3, but there's only 2 that are in use. There's no reason why I can't have them all going on different wheels.
Exactly.
Or same wheel, different bobbins. I can do it all. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I think we get ourselves in a mindset. Like I had been in the mindset of, okay, I have boxes of fiber in the garage where I have, 16 ounces of something in a box already carded. I need to finish the box, which that's good. I did that last year and I got all of the Cornwall Merino Wensleydale yarn spun. And there's nothing wrong with that. It was very satisfying. But if I don't want to do that, I don't have to. I could spin some of what's in the box and then move on to a different one, right? That's the thing about having that inventory is that I can dabble. I don't have to limit myself to like completionism, which is what I sometimes do.
Yeah. All right. So, everybody start thinking. Well, start.
Yeah.
Everyone should be spinning right now.
There's quite a lot of chat about what people are spinning. I haven't put up the finished object threads yet, but I'll do that at about the time that this episode goes out. I should have those up. And I'm sure there's stuff that people have finished that they're just itching to post. I got to get mine washed and I'll post mine.
Okay, so shall we now do the fun part?
Yeah.
We've made everybody listen to this.
Wait, all throughout this whole thing, yes.
Prizes. Okay, so the Out-of-Hibernation-Along is done. And we have some winners.
Yeah.
So do you want to announce them, Kelly?
Sure. Well, first of all, I just wanted to say it ended on June 1st with over 300 posts. It was a chatter thread. And it went for a while. We started, I think, in March. I think we started in March at the suggestion of one of our listeners. Anyway, we had 28 people who were there in that thread cheering each other on, and we had 44 projects that people linked to. I think there might have been more than 44 projects talked about in the thread, but the actual Ravelry actually counts how many linked projects you show. And so we drew from that list, and there's the prizes for this one. I had found out about a company called the Ale Sheep Company, and it's a fiber shed certified flock of Suffolk. This is like a tongue twister. A fiber shed certified flock of Suffolk sheep. They sell lamb, they sell pelts, they sell felted products, and they sell skincare products that use sheep tallow and or lanolin. So I drew, and I bought a little container of what's called shepherd's balm, what is it called? Herder's Healer is the hand cream. And then shepherd's balm is lip balm. And the lip balm is very interesting because it comes in a cardboard tube rather than a plastic tube, which I think is really cool. So anyway, that's the prize is going to be a shepherd's balm and a herder's healer for each of the two winners of our thread. So the first winner is Deborah Java Nut, and she's from San Jose. We actually know her from Knockers, know her in person, and she was on the thread. She finished a sock weight blanket that she started in 2008. So that was pretty fantastic to see the finishing, the final squares added to that blanket and the edging and all that. So congratulations, Deborah.
Very nice.
Yeah. And the second winner is Knittin' Mama 3, Suzanne from Connecticut, and she finished 2 sweaters, a Nina tank, and then the second one that she was working on that she finished from prior years is a derecho sweater. So she finished 2 sweaters. So congratulations, Suzanne.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Lots of accomplishments.
It was fun to see people digging out things. Some things were, very old, and some things were just put away last year or the year before. But even so, in each case, it was a situation where probably without that inspiration, the project wouldn't have been pulled out. And several projects got frogged because people abandoned the fantasy that they were going to finish it, or they abandoned the fantasy that it was going to look good on them when they knew it didn't look good on them, and they frogged the sweater so it can become something else.
Yeah.
So that was cool to see. So Deborah and Suzanne both need to send me their address. You can message me on Ravelry or send an email to 2ewes@2ewesfiberadventures.com. If you are vegan and opposed to having sheep products, or if you're allergic to lanolin, they have a product that is just made out of sheep tallow. So if you have any reason that you need an alternative prize, just let me know and I can work with you on that. But I wanted to introduce people to this company, the Ale Sheep Company. I think I want to buy some lamb from them. I haven't done it yet, but I sort of poked around their website, and I have to say I love Suffolk sheep, and I've spun a lot of Suffolk wool, which they don't sell their wool, but it does make great felt. I can vouch for that. It makes great felt. So
they have a lot of lamb products on here.
Yeah. So one of these days I'm going to order some lamb from them. All right. I think that's it, Marsha.
All right. Well, back to cleaning.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
We'll talk.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2ewesfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2 Ewes
Doing our part for World Fleece.